I'm Polly Warren and welcome to the Positive Perimenopause podcast. This is the place for some positive inspiration to help you through the rollercoaster ride of perimenopause. I truly believe that with the right support, knowledge and wellness tools, you can feel your best yet, because I'm learning this life phase can be a truly exciting and often pivotal time of life. With every episode, my mission is to support and empower you to own your menopause, because it's time to start taking care of the most important person, and yes, that's you. So thank you for being here and sharing your time with me. Now let's dive in. Hello, how you doing? Welcome back to the podcast. I hope you are well. I've had a busy old week, and actually that's something I just want to start with today, because I think so many of us at this stage live in a whirlwind of responsibilities, of obligations. And sadly, I think it's very easy to neglect ourselves a little bit. With so much on our plates, I mean, there is a lot, isn't there? We're taking care of our families. Maybe you've got aging parents, busy careers, maintaining your home. I mean, there's so much that we've got to contend with these days. It's just no wonder that often so many of us tend to prioritize everyone else's needs before our own. And I think in the midst of all of that, it's very easy to forget who we are and to lose touch with our own identity. And then you add into the mix also on top of all of that, perimenopause, which can bring a whole host of symptoms and experiences, that it's no surprise that many of us feel totally depleted and with very little energy to actually devote to ourselves. And it's not because we don't want to. I think sometimes we just feel like there's just not enough time in the day to focus on our well-being. And, this might all be feeling very familiar to you. And if you are nodding your head, then I do encourage you, and I do this as much as I can as well, to really reassess your priorities, because you are the most important. As I say at the very beginning of every episode, without you being on your A game, there's a knock-on effect to everyone. You are the most important person. This is one thing I'm pretty good at doing every day. Every morning I carve out time for myself. If you can't do it in the morning, it's about trying to find a pocket of time every day to do this. Now, I know that an area of life which can be affected by all of this, by not having enough time, not taking enough care of yourself, is how we dress. This is what this podcast episode is about today. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a wardrobe full of clothes, but so often I'm like, oh my God, I've got nothing to wear, or I end up wearing the same old thing day after day. I think sometimes it's just simply a result of maybe not having enough time, or, these time constraints we put on ourselves, but also that mental exhaustion that just comes with managing busy lives. When we're overwhelmed with many tasks and lots of obligations, we tend to gravitate towards comfort and familiarity. And I know that I opt for outfits that just require minimal thought or effort. But also, perhaps your body shape has changed more recently, which is totally normal, by the way. So it means that your clothes, which you're hanging in your wardrobe, they just no longer feel comfortable, or they don't fit properly. And I think this can lead us to, again, neglect ourselves and really takes a toll on our self-confidence and our sense of ourselves. Over the years, as we've invested more and more time into the well-being of others, perhaps, this has happened to you. You've gradually lost touch with who you were before you took on so many roles and before all of this perimenopausal stuff. So I do think that recognizing this is a really crucial step towards reclaiming your identity. particularly if you feel like you've veered off track. And I know that clothes can really help with this. And I really love clothes, but again, I get really stuck in a rut with it. So I was so excited this week to be speaking to stylist Michelle Barrett. Michelle is founder of Capsule Closet Stylist. And in this episode, she just has so much valuable advice on how to revitalize your wardrobe and how to understand which clothes best suit you and your body shape. And ultimately, that's going to really help you to rediscover what you love and help you feel good. And that's going to really help boost your confidence as well. Michelle has over 21 years of experience styling some of the biggest names in the world, and it all started at the smash hits Pole Winners Party in 1999, where she was dressing celebrities such as Enrique Iglesias and Boyzone. However, when she became a single parent in 2006, and she was struggling to make ends meet, Michelle discovered the power of a curated capsule wardrobe, and now she helps thousands of people build their own capsule wardrobes, helping them to transform their style and boost their confidence. I got so much out of this episode, and I'm sure you will too. So without further ado, please welcome the brilliant Michelle Barrett. Really good to have you here on the podcast. And Michelle, we met actually you found me through, it was Lou Featherstone, who was my first ever guest on the podcast.
I didn't realise she was your first one.
Yeah, she was, and she was so brilliant at helping me get this podcast out there. So Michelle, I think a great place to start was if you could tell us all a little bit about yourself. How did you come to be a stylist? Maybe tell us some of the people that you styled, because I know you've styled a lot of different people.
So I've been styling, just doing personal styling for 24 years in November. So a really long time.
Wow.
It's like the back of my hand now. Done it a very long time. I got into it. I went to university a little bit later. So I didn't go straight away. I went a little bit later, and then I went to London College of Fashion, studied actually product development. Had a friend who worked at ITV. My first job was with Boyzone, Enrique Iglesias and Westlife for the Smash Hits Pole Winners Party in Miss World. And that was very sink or swim. Didn't know what I was doing at all, really. But luckily I swam, and then I carried on doing it. And since then, I've kind of worked in film, TV, light entertainment, music promos, commercials, editorial, everything, really. Around being, in more recent years, for the last sort of 17 years, being a single parent to my daughter as well. But during the pandemic, I kind of loosely started an idea of offering what I do to everyone else online, with the idea of helping people become much more intentional about what they buy, so that it therefore has a bit of an impact on the environment, because so many of us have a wardrobe full of clothes but nothing to wear.
Yep.
And there's often, exactly when I say that, there's often literally eyes light up. And there's often certain life points as well where particularly women come to me. There's often certain life stages. The two most prominent stages are post having children, when their bodies changed a little bit, and then around the time of the menopause often as well. And there's sometimes when they're retiring as well. They're like the three kind of main points of when people come to me. So there's a series of packages that I offer online, plus I can do in person as well to people more locally, usually. And it depends on where they're at and what work they need and how I work with them. And that depends on how I work with them.
Yeah, so I mean, that rings so true to me. I have a wardrobe full of clothes, and often I'm like, oh my God, I've got nothing to wear. What should I wear? Because that wardrobe of clothes has actually been the same for so many years. And not only, I think, do our tastes change as we get older, but our body shapes change.
Yeah.
Everything really changes. So does what we want to put on. And I think what we wear has a real impact on how we feel.
Yeah.
I just know myself so well that if I put on something which makes me feel good, then I just kind of carry myself in a really different way. Why do you think it's important how we dress ourselves and what we wear for you? Because we all obviously will have we put our own meaning to it. But I'm intrigued about what you think.
One of the things that when I work with one-on-one with clients, one of the biggest things that I see is literally people's posture change. And I think, we start off, and most of us start off in our 20s, and we kind of have a certain sort of style, and it's very easy usually to kind of create your little style and your little sort of, I suppose, your like little niche in a way, the way you wear things and the things that you like. And that does adapt slightly through time. But I think fundamentally you don't change that much. But what happens is your lifestyle changes. So let's say, for example, you become a mum, or you get a new job, or like you say, your body changes. And then on those occasions, what may have worked before doesn't quite work. Or it may be like, when I work with clients, I often say to them, it has to feel good physically and mentally. So it's not just about something physically digging in and not being quite the right size maybe anymore, and that being disappointed, but mentally it has to feel good as well. And that's the bit that I think sometimes people miss. So knowing what kind of colours and styles work for your body shape, and having that body shape identified, can help you make much more informed decisions. And then what I often do with people is get them to go onto Pinterest and actually have a bit of fun pinning styles that they like, and spend a bit of time doing that as well, because then not only does that get me into the head and help me identify what they like themselves, but it also means that they can kind of get that sort of inspiration flowing again. Because, just because you reach a certain age, or just because your body shapes change, whatever shape you are, you can still look and feel good. And there's no reason why you shouldn't either.
And I think this is the problem. I think a lot of us, particularly if you've had children and you've been a busy mum, and you kind of put yourself at the bottom of your priority list, that actually you're the first one to not really bother about yourself. So you kind of get into bad habits of just throwing any old thing on, the same old thing every single day. And then you forget how clothes can make you feel. So it's kind of breaking that cycle, isn't it? It's about actually finding the things which make you feel good. What would you suggest? What could we do to break that cycle and actually start to...
Well, I think the first thing is to recognise whatever stage you're at, life stage you're at, whether you're going through the menopause, or whether you've just recently had children, or another reason. It could be a medical reason that you've put on weight, your body's changed, or whatever it is. The first thing to realise is that you don't have to give up. Despite what society says that we should all look like we're about 15, forget it all. Forget all of that. Ignore it all. And in actual fact, I do pretty much say to people, ignore the marketing around you, because it highlights insecurities usually, and also it is marketed on people that don't look like the vast majority of us. So just ignore it all and find your happy place. And that's the first step, I think, is to recognize that actually you can still look and feel good. You don't have to be that size or that age to look and feel good. If you know what works best on you, you can use clothes in quite a clever way to kind of highlight areas that you do feel comfortable with, and just skim the ones that you're not so comfortable with.
Yeah, honestly, that barrage of just media chatter and societal narrative that we should all be, as you say, ridiculously slim, look about 20 is just ridiculous, because nobody's like that. Very few people are like that, and we're all trying to subconsciously, I don't think even half of us doing it consciously, we feel that that's how we should be, but it's complete and utter rubbish. We're all different shapes and sizes, and you're right, we've got to really embrace that and find things which make us feel good, and make the most of what we have, because we've all got amazing parts to us.
Yeah, and it's a battle you'll never win. Like chasing the age thing, you'll never win that battle.
Never.
You will never ever win it. So actually just stop it. Stop chasing something that's completely unattainable, and actually let's look at what can work for you colour-wise, what can work for you style-wise, and then explore what you actually love again. Because I think a lot of people lose that as well. It's like when you're young, you not only when you're young, you've got these ideas about what you like the look of in terms of style-wise, music, what you like to do even. And like you said earlier, often you go and you have children, or you're running a family and you're working and everything, and you forget about you. You don't just forget about you in terms of what you like to do and music you like to listen to and all that, but it also what you actually like. So that's another thing as well, is just actually let's get back to that place and focus on that place, and stop wearing clothes just because they're the safe options, because actually you don't know what to do. Well, I'll just put that on because I know that goes with that, and that's it. It's not, that's never going to, it's obvious that's never going to make you actually feel good.
So finding the right colours are really important, and you advise on that, don't you? You advise. So what are the general rules in terms of colours?
Well, the really, really basic drawing it down the bottom of the line. I mean, when I do a colour analysis and I do a body shape style guide on people, I choose it from, I think it's about 126 different options. And the reason for that is because like a lot, you can go and do these things online, right? Like these things where you punch in certain questions and put your photo in. It says, oh, you're a summer, or oh, you're a spring, or oh, you're whatever you are. But don't be surprised if that doesn't quite feel right. I've got a client I'm actually talking to later on this afternoon who's been doing those. She's in Canada, and she said exactly that. She's come up with 3 different supposed answers each time she's done it. So you can do it for a little bit of an idea, but don't be surprised if it's not accurate. But the general kind of rules are, so let's say, for example, you are blue-eyed, pale skin, blonde hair. If you were to take a black and white photograph of yourself, the contrast between your eyes, skin, and hair would be quite blended. There wouldn't be massive contrast between each. If you had dark hair and you had light skin and light eyes, there would be a lot more contrast. So in other words, if you want to be Irish, kind of, dark hair, it is similarly, if you were kind of blonde with dark skin and dark eyes, you'd have a lot of contrast. So in those instances, you can afford to have quite a lot of contrast in your wardrobe. Now, if you're kind of all pale, you're better off with kind of more mid to light tones. If you're all dark, you're better off with kind of mid to dark tones. So that's kind of to do with the contrast loosely. That's kind of a loose kind of, what you're basically doing is you're pretty much repeating what you are. Now, this whole thing, the where it gets a little bit kind of complicated is when you're talking about warm and cool. I kind of fall into both categories. There's parts of my skin, hair, and eyes that are slightly warm, and there's some parts that are slightly cool. So some people sit somewhere in the middle. But general rule, if your skin is cooler and your eyes are maybe blue, then you want to go for cooler tones. If your skin has warmer tones, or has warmer tones in your hair and your eyes, then you want to go for warmer tones. But some people kind of do sit slightly in the middle, and that is where trying to put people into 12, 8, 4 categories, whatever it is nigh impossible, because a lot of us sit somewhere in between. I worked with a client in New York recently. She had pale blue eyes, very, very pink, cool skin, but slight warmth in the sort of brunette of her hair. So she actually sat exactly in between 2 categories. So I actually recreated a colour analysis for her, because I knew that some of the colours in that particular analysis that she was closest to wouldn't quite work for her. So there's a combination of all those different things, and a lot of the time it's quite an instinctual thing as well.
Yeah, it's so fascinating, isn't it? Because I know for myself that there are certain colours I've always thought have suited me. I mean, I have no idea if they do, but kind of things like navy blues, I know reds are pretty good, or burnt colours. And I kind of really steer away from pastel colours. I wonder, but that was an instinctive thing.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that's actually the case. Yeah.
It is quite funny, because I do get some clients who come to me and they do have an instinct for it. And then I get other clients who come to me and I'll say to them, no, actually, you're towards the cool. And they're like, no, I'm not. I go, okay, just go to the shop. Just try something on in that colour. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Because it doesn't matter if I give you a palette of 300 colours. If you don't like them, then it's not going to work. But just try it, and then they'll come back and they'll go, actually, I never in a million years would have picked that colour up. So it kind of opens up a door, and that does look like that sometimes. And sometimes it is just a case of almost confirming what they sort of knew but hadn't quite got it right.
Yeah. And what about body shape then? So obviously we want to dress in a way which is comfortable
Yeah.
and yet makes us feel good. And so what are there any sort of hard and fast guidelines? I might say
Yeah.
rules, I'm going to say guidelines, which we can
Yeah.
follow.
So again, there are lots of little tricks that you can use to kind of dress in a way which does or choose clothes which would be better for your body shape. But again, a general rule is it's about balance. So what the most classic kind of shape is the hourglass, where you know the hip and the bust are equal. But within that, you can often have some people that are broad shouldered or, you know, or whatever it is. So again, there's lots of nuances between it. But what I would generally say is if you are heavier on the bottom, you want to add lighter, brighter, more detailing along the top. If you are bigger at the top and broad at the top, then you want to add the balance to maybe your hips. So you have like a skirt that kicks out or something like that. There are also kind of certain things you can do. For example, if you are putting weight around the middle, V-necks are quite good because it draws the eye downwards. But one mistake that particularly women make all the time, which you want to avoid doing, and I can see why they do it, but it doesn't do them any favors. It often makes it so much worse, is that when they put on a little bit of weight around their tummy, they will buy a top that hangs directly off their bust and straight down to try and hide the tummy. So I understand why they do that. But what that does is it just makes you look even bigger. It makes you look like you're this going straight up and down. What you're much better off doing is having something which is called like an empire line, which comes underneath the bust. Because whatever shape or size you are, that area under your bust is going to be the smallest area. So you're bringing the body in then, and then you're gently skimming out. So, you know, maybe in like a bit like a tunic style top or something like that. And you're gently skimming over the stomach. The other one is as well that they often do, particularly this doesn't work for petite women, is that they'll have this top that goes straight down. They might be worried about their bum as well. So not only does it cover their tummy, but it goes straight down and then it comes straight to their bottom as well. And all it does is it makes them look wide, a block like that. And if you can, what you want to do is try and pull it in where it works to pull it in, so that you kind of give some definition and some shape. And then any areas that you're not so happy with, darker colors, avoid kind of big patterns, avoid like things like satin or what do you call it, velour, you know, anything that's or leather, anything that kind of, when you look at it in the light, it kind of catches the light and creates that kind of shape kind of thing that actually enhances it. So it makes it much worse when it's got any of that kind of shimmer on it. So you're better off using that in areas, you know, areas that you are happy with, then use the kind of satins and the leathers and the velvets and things like that, because it draws the attention to it.
Yeah, didn't know that at all. Yeah, love that. I know that you talk a lot about a capsule wardrobe. So
Yeah.
I wonder, Michelle, if you could tell us a little bit about what is a capsule wardrobe, and are there any particular clothes we should have in our capsule wardrobe? A very quick break to ask you to hit the follow or subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you're enjoying this episode, I'd be super grateful if you could hit those stars and rate it too. Thank you.
A capsule wardrobe, by definition, is a small collection of clothes that mix and match easily, essentially. But what I do when I work with people, because you see a lot about capsule wardrobes online, and it's nearly always beige, navy blue, black and white. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. And the reason why it's often in those colours is because those colours form quite a good basis to work from. But what I do is, when I work with people, I would say a capsule wardrobe is what you want it to be. So in other words, what do you love? You know, if you like all bright colours, then that is what your capsule wardrobe should be. If you like all patterns, that is what it should be. But if you're going to go for that, then like I say, it's much harder to mix and match it, unless you're somebody like Lulu, who likes it all clashing and it all being crazy. Then if that's the case, then absolutely, then you go with that. But as a general rule, there are so many different elements that I would suggest people look at. And when I work one-on-one with clients in my personal styling packages or in my membership, what we do is we look at all these elements. So firstly, of course, it's what colors work for you. Next, it's what colors, styles work for your body shape. Then we look at your lifestyle, because there is no point in me saying to you, okay, have 3 pairs of jeans, have 2 skirts, one and 5 t-shirts, 3 white and the 1 navy blue, blah, blah, blah. The reason why is because I don't know what you do on a weekly basis. Where do you go to work? What climate do you live in? The difference in climate can make a difference. Do you live in a seasonal climate? Are you going to have a capsule wardrobe for spring, summer, and then one for autumn, winter? You can't actually have a standard formula of what a capsule wardrobe is. But what you can do is work it out backwards. So if you kind of have an idea of let's say you have a kind of an idea of what colors and styles work for you, then next I would say, look at your lifestyle over a month. So think about in that month what you do. So do you go to a yoga class once a week? Do you have to, take the kids to school? Where do you work? Is there a certain type of uniform you have to wear to work? Do you have a uniform, or do you have, do you have to be smart? Do you have to wear certain colors, or do you have meetings, or, do you go out with your partner? Do you go out with your girlfriends? Because dividing that month up by 100% will give you a very practical idea of what you actually need in that wardrobe. And then within that, you need to kind of think about, how many times you do a wash cycle, because of course that makes a difference, or if it's dry cleaning. All these things might sound quite boring, but actually it really gives you a really strong idea of what you actually need then, because you're looking at colors that work for you, styles that work for you. We're looking at what you love. We go through the Pinterest board and kind of discover what you love. Then we start analyzing the actual practicalities of how your wardrobe should serve you. Because then the next thing is often we've got less bottoms than we have tops if you're not wearing dresses or, jumpsuits or whatever that is. So again, once you've kind of said, okay, I spend 60% of my time, let's say, at work, then 60% of your wardrobe should be work-based.
Yeah.
Right? But then if you're about to retire, of course, that's all going to change. So, it might sound like the boring side, but if you really want something that's going to be concise and mix and match very easily, then that's kind of how I suggest you go around it. And it could be, and another little tip as well, is if you do live in a seasonal environment and you're kind of transitioning from winter into spring, or the other way around, summer into autumn, what I suggest people start off with is around 8 colors. Okay, now because if you start with 8 colors at the absolute maximum, it's going to be much easier to mix and match those colors. It doesn't mean to say that you can only have those colors for the rest of your life, but if you want to start off with a capsule wardrobe, then that's what I would do. Start with 8 colors, because if you start with around 4 what I call canvas colors. So your canvas colors are your neutrals. So they are like your beige, your white, your ivory, your black, your navy, those kind of charcoal gray, those kind of colors. If you start off with 4 of those, and then 4 what I would call paint colors. So they're the brightest shades. It could be red, bright pink, orange, whatever you want it to be, any other color really. Then you use the canvas colors. The reason why I call them canvas colors is like, look at this behind me. This is the canvas colors, right? It's a backdrop. And then you plop these other colors on top. Then if you transition to the next season, you can swap out 2 or 3 of those colors for each season. And you can repeat it the following year if you want to. But that way, most of the wardrobe will mix and match properly all the way through the year. And then you just swap in and out a few colors for each season.
Oh my God, it sounds just amazing to have something like that. How many items in a would you say in a capsule wardrobe?
It really depends on the individual, because it depends on, like if you live in a tropical environment, you're going to be changing a lot more often than you do if you live kind of here for the most part. It also depends on layers as well. So it really depends on what you do and whether it's dry cleaning or whether it's washing. But I would generally say, for example, one example that I always use is for some reason, a lot of women have a lot of black leggings. I don't know why, but a lot of them have like 20 pairs of black leggings. Now, if you go to yoga, you need some black leggings. But if you go to yoga maybe once, maximum twice a week, then you probably don't need any more than 2 pairs of yoga leggings, right? Yet a lot of people have lots of different ones. So I'd say if that is you, there's several elements you want to have a look at when you start editing what you have. And it's like things like what is the most comfortable and fits you best? What is the best quality? What is the newest? And eliminate it down based on those kind of factors and what feels good as well, what feels best. So you eliminate it down to exactly what you want. It's like my own wardrobe mixes quite easily because, well, it does mix easily. I could almost go into it and pick things out blind just because I know the color palette works. And it just kind of, you can almost I can almost pick out any bottom and any top color wise and it will work because it's really simple. It keeps it really, really simple. And it doesn't have to be boring.
So what would you suggest, Michelle? So I'm just thinking about my wardrobe, and for me, I generally live in jeans. At the moment, I'm in shorts, but that is sort of my weekly wear. I do have loads of sportswear because I do some sort of exercise every day.
Yeah.
But for me, my challenges is when I'm going out and I want to wear something nice. And I literally have the same things I bring out time and time again. I'm just so bored of them. And it's like, oh God, I'd love to wear something different. But I'm just thinking about my wardrobe now. And for anybody else who's listening, who's thinking, right, okay, I have got a wardrobe full of clothes. I'd love to go into and start sifting through and actually start to think about getting rid of some of the stuff I know has been hanging in there for years and I've not touched. How can I start this process of finding the pieces which are going to work for me? I know I'm going to have an appointment with you, which is going to really, really help. But for those who maybe can't afford to have an appointment or, how can they get started?
Well, one really easy way to work out whether you're wearing stuff or not is every time you wear it, you hang it up with a hanger back to front. By the end of the season, you can see exactly what you've worn and what you haven't.
Ooh, that's like,
and it's a really simple one. But if you want to literally limit it down to what you're wearing, so you pull out all the crap. That is a really simple way of doing it because you can see then exactly what you've worn.
I'm always so worried though that because it has happened on occasions when I've got really ruthless and I've got rid of something and then I'm like, oh God, why did I get rid of that? I kind of want to wear it.
That's where I think you have to think about how it's going to mix and start thinking about the colors. Because the thing is, there are some things that you won't wear every season, or so let's say it's for an annual event or something, or it's like ski clothing that's expensive. You're not going to get rid of that every, you're only going to do it once a year, but you're not going to get rid of it every year. So always be kind of a little bit sensible. And the other area I never kind of dictate to people on is sentimental items. Now, if it reminds you of your ex-boyfriend who dumped you, I think you should get rid of it. But if it's like, it was your grand's or something like that, some people who become very minimalist about creating a capsule wardrobe will say, oh, we'll just take a photo of it and that's it. If that's your bag, absolutely go for it. Personally, that wouldn't work for me. So it is an element of knowing what will work as well. But the point is, it's a very classic example of not being able to see the wood for the trees. So you can't see what works if you just got all this stuff there. Another way of doing it actually is if you go through your wardrobe now and you pull out what you think you're not going to need and put it aside for the season. So don't get rid of it completely. And this works really well as well if you've put on weight and you're working towards removing that weight or getting that weight off again, or vice versa. Put the items away that aren't working right now. So it could be they're not quite the right size, or it could be that you don't think you're going to need them till the end of the season. If by the end of that season, then you actually look and you've pulled those items out, then you obviously need to keep them. But if you haven't pulled them out by the end of it, then maybe think about, selling it on, on Vinted or something like that, make some money back and actually buy something that you like in the same way, but that does work.
Yeah, you mentioned Vinted. I mean, my kids are all over Vinted. They
Yeah,
sell their clothes, they buy new clothes, and it's such a brilliant resource.
yeah, yeah. I use it.
And yeah, and I think, and I have never actually used it personally for myself, but I think it's something which perhaps we can all, it's an affordable way
Yeah,
to actually buy some decent clothes.
yeah. It's a great idea.
In terms of money and how much we should be spending on our clothes, what's your take on it in terms of high street, cheaper stuff and more expensive designer stuff? Because I always sort of say to myself, oh, I think I'd rather start to spend more money on really good quality items
Mm.
and try and spend less money on the real kind of much cheaper, more throwaway kind of fashion. Firstly, because it's not sustainable.
Yeah,
So that's one reason why I've been thinking that.
yeah.
But then often I don't buy anything at all because like, oh my god, I can't justify spending that much on that. So
But buy it secondhand.
yeah,
See,
yeah,
that's the key, right? I'll give another example. So I wanted a really good quality, I use this example quite a lot, a really good quality tailored charcoal grey coat. Okay. I wanted it to be single-breasted. I had in my mind's eye kind of how this coat would look. It needed to come in a little bit because I'm quite petite, so I didn't want something that was going to be straight up and down. And it took me a while because I kind of decided I wanted it towards the end of the winter. So it took me all the way through that summer, and it was the following winter when I actually saw what I wanted. And I found a Dolce & Gabbana tailored grey coat, and it was £60.
amazing.
And it is absolutely beautiful. It's a really lovely coat. So that's an extreme example because it took me a long time to do it. But if you've become intentional about what you're putting in that wardrobe, and then when you decide you want something else in there, like you might decide, again, I use this as an example. So let's say you need a pair of trousers for work and you work in a normal office where you've just got to be smart. So most people will go, oh, well, I'll just go and pick a pair of black trousers for work and I'll just go black and that's it. But let's say black isn't the best color for you. So you know what colors work for you. So you're going to go for navy blue, right? Let's say that you are, I don't know, let's say that you're an apple shape. So you're better off with flat fronted and a side fastening and with a wide leg or something like that. So you're now looking for a navy blue pair of trousers with a side fastening and a wide leg. What season are you having them for? Right, okay, well, it's going to be winter, so I'm going to need something quite warm. So I probably want wool or something similar, but I don't like that against my skin, so now I need them lined. So now you're looking for a pair of lined navy blue. Can you see how
Yeah,
when you start to think about it very specifically, and you've decided already you're wearing it for work, so you already know what tops and stuff you're wearing it with. So you become very specific about, well, like when I search for something, it's like, well, or when I go into a shop, well, I'll be honest with you, most of the time when I go into high street shops now, I love supporting the little local businesses around here, and I go in and talk to them all the time, and I often do little videos in there as well because I think that's really important. But often when I go into the bigger stores now, it just all looks like landfill to me.
yeah, I know.
It
It's
looks
terrible.
so much stuff, and so much of it is crap as well.
Yeah,
And and that's how it looks to me. So it's almost like when I go into a shop and I'm looking for something, it's almost like I'm sifting through that landfill. I'm sifting through, okay, they don't have any, they don't have any, they don't have
yeah,
any. And you become, and that's what I try and, when I started this online business, the Capsule Closet Stylist, that was what I decided I wanted to try and help people do, is exactly that, is have that radar themselves so that they become quite intentional about it.
yeah. And that's the key, isn't it? It's about being intentional about when you go shopping rather than, I mean, sometimes I'll go out and go, right, I really need this, and I'll be looking for it. And that's actually when I never ever find
Yeah,
anything. Go to the
excellent.
shops. And I'm not a shopper. I really don't like going around the shops. I find it really frustrating. I must admit, I also get really triggered by all this real cheap crap,
Yeah,
which is just so throwaway. And
I'm not
yeah.
a big fan of shopping either, believe it or not. People think, but I'm not a big fan of shopping. I'm a big fan of being very intentional. And then when that's the case, it's almost like a reward when you find exactly what it is you want. You sift through all that stuff. But yeah, I would say, talking about earlier when you were saying about money and budgets and all that, I've been a single parent for 17 years. I know what it's like to be on a budget. And what I used to do with my daughter's clothes she would grow out of something, I would sell it, and then I would buy quality again from the money that I made from what I sold. And that's how I buy most of my stuff now, is like we mentioned, Vinted. I did have a couple of bad experiences with Vinted, actually. I've done a review about that. But in general, I think the actual premise behind it's a fantastic idea. And
me too. And actually here in Brighton we have a few shops where you can take your old clothes in, and then it's kind of nearly new. They're always actually my clothes have been rejected a few times, which I tried not to take too personally, but then they sell them on, and I've bought quite a lot of my clothes that way. I kind of bought a lot of my clothes secondhand. And you do pick up some really great pieces, but then also sometimes I pick up some really bad pieces because I feel it's such a bargain that I feel like I should buy it, but actually it doesn't really suit me.
Okay, that's the other thing. This is what you keep in your head, okay? A bargain is only a bargain if you use it. If you don't use it, it's a waste of your money.
So true. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Now, is there anything else which you feel as a woman aging, going through perimenopause, should know about dressing? Because for me, it's all about confidence, isn't it? I think so many of us lose confidence as we get older, as our body shapes are changing, perhaps as you're not feeling as vibrant and brilliant as you have done. Is there any advice you could give someone, or anything I've missed?
I don't think so. I think the key things is don't give up. All you need to do is, it's not about you changing entirely. You don't have to give up on your identity. What we need to do is just refresh it. You just need to refresh it and find your. I talk about people finding their happy place again, because I think they lose it. And there's a lot of symptoms, obviously, with menopause and perimenopause, which can make you feel, actually hormonally feel quite down on yourself anyway, which doesn't help. So just know that you can absolutely feel good about yourself again, and there is a way, and there's a way for you actually to feel good as well, not in a forced way, not in a, oh yes, I do feel better, but not really feeling it. You actually can get that confidence back, and do it in a way which feels good for you as well, and not in a way that's kind of sometimes with things like this, with the menopause or with post having children and all this, it's like, oh, well, just do that and you'll feel better. And you kind of do these things, but you're not sure if you do, or whether you're being told you should feel better, so you kind of do because you're being told you should do. The fact is, if you kind of got the right tools, you absolutely can feel better in yourself and still feel confident and feel good when you go out. There's absolutely no reason why you can't.
So my final question I ask all my guests, which I probably should have just asked before that question, but anyway, is because this is called the Positive Perimenopause Podcast, it's all about trying to make perimenopause as positive experience as possible. If I like to give the listeners one practical, actionable step they can take forward from today, is there something you could recommend?
I would say rediscover what you love again, because it's about updating what you've loved, and learn your colours and the styles that suit your body shape. Because if you've got those three things, you're well on the way to being able to create that wardrobe of your dreams again. Because they're the three main elements. Is what you love is equally as important, but knowing what colours and styles work for you will help you choose clothes that will enhance your best features.
And ultimately boost your confidence and your self-esteem and the way that you feel about yourself.
Exactly.
Michelle, thank you so much. For anybody who would love to get in touch with you, find out more about you, where can they go?
Just go to capsuleclosetstylist.com, and if you want, I do consultations, free 20-minute consultations. There's a little button at the top of the page saying book a free consultation. By means, book a consultation with me. I'd be happy to chat to you.
Fantastic. I'll put all of those links in the show notes. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it. I've learned so much today, Michelle. Thank you so much.
That you.
No, it's been brilliant. Really, really useful. And I'm going to definitely take some of those things on board. So thanks a lot. Brilliant. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Here are the highlights. Number 1, what you wear has to feel good, both physically and mentally. Number 2, knowing what colours and styles work for you and your body shape help us make much better informed decisions, but you also have to like it. Number 3, whatever shape you are, you can still look and feel good. Number 4, you don't have to give up despite what society says. Forget all about that and ignore the marketing around you. It highlights insecurities and it's marketed on people who don't look like the vast majority of us. Find your happy place. Number 5, look at what works for you and explore what you love again. Stop wearing clothes just because it's the safe option. It's never going to actually make you feel good. Number 6, to work out whether you're wearing clothes or not, hang them up with a hanger back to front. By the end of the year or the season, you'll be able to see what you've worn and what you haven't. Number 7, or you can go through your wardrobe now and pull out what you don't think you'll need. Put those items away which aren't working for you. And if you've pulled them out by the end of the season, then you know to keep them. Number 8, whenever you can, buy secondhand. It will save you money and it's good for the planet. Number 9, you don't have to give up on your identity. All you have to do is refresh it and find your happy place again. Know that you can feel good about yourself again and get that confidence back. And number 10, rediscover what you love and learn the colours and styles that suit your body shape. Knowing these will help you on your way to recreate the wardrobe of your dreams again. Thanks as always for listening. I so appreciate it. And if you feel like you'd like to let me or Michelle know any thoughts you had about this episode, does it resonate? If you need any help, then get in touch with Michelle or myself. All of our details are in the show notes. And finally, I just want to remind you that if you are currently struggling to stick to healthy eating, or you're struggling with that motivation to move your body on a regular basis, or perhaps your mind is just on a constant whirlwind of thoughts and it's causing you increased anxiety and you really feel like you want to get hold of that, then coaching and some of the tools which I have in my back pocket can really help with all of this. It can really help you integrate healthy habits and into your lifestyle. I offer a free 50-minute consultation. So if you feel that could be something which is useful for you and we can see if we're a good fit, then the link to that is in my show notes. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Remember, you are completely awesome and I know that you are doing the best you possibly can. Take loads of care, lots of love. Bye.